Video topic: why entrepreneurship is now more stable than a traditional 9-to-5 job. For decades, we were told that getting a job is the safest decision that you could make. Work hard, stay loyal, and stability would follow. But that advice no longer reflects reality. In today's economy, entrepreneurship, done correctly, has quietly become the more stable path. This video isn't about hustle culture. It's not about quitting your job tomorrow. And it's not about taking reckless risks. It's about redefining stability. By the end of the video, you'll understand why traditional employment has become increasingly fragile and why modern entrepreneurship, when approached strategically, can offer greater control, resilience, and long-term security. The concept of job security was built for a different economic environment, one where companies prioritize long-term employment, markets move slowly, and technological disruption took decades, not years. That environment no longer exists. Today, most workers depend on a single income stream that can be disrupted overnight by layoffs, restructuring, automation, or shifts in investor priorities. Stability hasn't disappeared, but it has become conditional. Across advanced economies since 2020, job instability has taken on a more subtle form. Headline employment has largely recovered, and volatility in monthly job gains and losses has moderated compared with the immediate pandemic shock. Yet, workers are cycling between roles more frequently and facing higher perceived risk from automation and restructuring. Studies of layoffs show that while large, highly visible waves have been concentrated in sectors like technology, the broader path is one of ongoing churn, with displaced workers typically reemployed but often at lower wages or in different occupations, reinforcing a sense that jobs are less durable even when unemployment rates remain near pre-pandemic norms. Post-2020 data from the OECD and other institutions indicate that average job tenure, already failing in the 2010s, has continued to edge down or stagnate, with more workers in short to medium tenure bands and about 1 in 5 experiencing a change in employment situation in a given year, a sign of structurally high turnover rather than outright job loss. At the same time, analysis of automation risk find that employment is still growing overall in developed economies, but growth is much slower in occupations at high risk of automation than in lower risk roles. And countries with a large share of routine or manufacturing jobs remain more exposed to displacement pressures, contributing to a persistent background of insecurity, even in expanding labor markets. In summary, modern employment stability depends less on performance and more on forces outside of the worker's control. To understand why entrepreneurship feels more stable today, we need to be honest about the past. Historically, starting a business required significant capital, specialized connections, and access to gatekeepers. Failure often meant permanent financial damage. This is why older generations and much of today's advice still associate entrepreneurship with instability. But that assessment is based on an outdated version of reality. What changed wasn't human ambition. What changed was infrastructure. Today, individuals have access to tools that were once exclusive to large corporations. Distribution is global and inexpensive. Skills can be learned independently. Audiences can be built without permission. This doesn't eliminate risk, but it redistributes it. Instead of placing all risk into a single employer, individuals can spread it across multiple income streams, skills, and platforms. Since the early 2000s, digital infrastructure has steadily expanded both access and leverage for entrepreneurs by turning formerly scarce resources into on-demand services. Cloud platforms, app stores, and subscription software dramatically reduce upfront costs, so founders can plug into payment systems, logistic networks, and marketing tools instead of building them from scratch, gaining immediate leverage over capabilities that once required large teams and capital. At the same time, global e-commerce marketplaces and social platforms provide direct access to worldwide audiences, while integrated analytics and experimentation tools let Even very small ventures test ideas, refine offerings, and scale successful products at a speed and reach that previously belonged mainly to large incumbents. Traditional employment concentrates risk. One employer, one paycheck, one point of failure. Entrepreneurship, when done strategically, disperses risk. Multiple skills, multiple income streams, greater adaptability. The goal isn't to avoid uncertainty, it's to reduce dependence on any single system. Stability today comes from control, not guarantee. Research on income diversification and financial resilience generally finds that spreading earnings across multiple sources can reduce dependence on any single employer or client. But the actual risk reduction depends heavily on how correlated those income streams are. Studies of households and small producers show that combining wage work with side businesses or other activities is associated with higher financial resilience to shocks, because a job loss or sector-specific downturn does not immediately wipe out all cash flow, whereas single income employees are fully exposed to the health of one firm or industry. Evidence from labor economics also shows that self-employed workers and gig workers typically face much higher month-to-month income volatility than salaried employees. So resilience comes from distributing risk across different pairs, sectors, and geographies, not from self-employment by itself. Expert analysis therefore emphasizes that multiple streams only improve risk distribution when they are structurally independent, serving different markets and different macro factors. Otherwise, several tightly linked revenue sources can fail simultaneously and offer little more protection than a single precarious job. So stability is no longer about permanence, it's about adaptability, the ability to learn quickly, pivot when necessary, and maintain agency over your economic future. Entrepreneurship isn't safer because it's easier. It's safer because it aligns with how the modern world actually works. Traditional employment once offered protection through structure. Today, that structure often creates vulnerability. Entrepreneurship, approached with patience and strategy, offers something more durable: leverage, flexibility, and control. The question isn't whether entrepreneurship is risky. The question is whether relying on a single employer is still the safest bet. Like and subscribe. It takes you 2 seconds, but it helps me out more than you can imagine. Love you guys.